All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a couple of real people out there, just like you right there, and just like me right here. Before I get started, this young lady here, when I say young lady, I feel old, people, and she's not old. Ches Kane, this is her debut album. She's about to release her second album. So here's the deal. If you're kind of ticked off at Pat Benatar these days, here you go. Next generation, Vixen, Pat Benatar. Think of those great female, Lita Ford. Think of those great female singers from the 1980s. And Ches Kane is all of the above and more. Here's what the back cover looks like. Yep, Ches Kane, the real deal. And I will hopefully at some point maybe get to talk to her about her second album, which is coming out soon. She has a very interesting video that she just dropped, a single for her next album. Maybe inappropriate for some audiences. What's really inappropriate these days, people? The government, yes. Also, Lou Gramm kind of unloading on Kelly Hansen, the current singer of Foreigner, says that Kelly Hansen is mimicking him. And Lou Gramm says, I don't take it as a compliment. I love Lou Gramm. I've been defending Lou Gramm on here for quite a long time now. I don't want to deliver the backstory again, but I really didn't like what people were saying about Lou Gramm post brain surgery, like not understanding the context of where Lou was as a singer at that time. But Lou Gramm now kind of unloading on everybody, unloading on Mick Jones, unloading on songwriting credits, unloading on Kelly Hansen. Now, he does say some good things about Kelly Hansen. He says, Kelly is all right. He's a good singer, but I think Mick, meaning Mick Jones, really told Kelly when he first got in the band that he had to study me because he sings those songs with the same musical innuendos and vocal licks and ad libs as I do. He's mimicking me. His voice doesn't sound like me, but he's singing the songs the way I would sing them. Okay. Now, agreed. I agree with Lou Gramm on this point. But here's the thing. Jason Scheff takes over for Peter Cetera after Chicago pushed Cetera out. They didn't agree to what Peter wanted, and thus they forced him out of the band. A lot of people just think that Cetera quit, but Peter was the franchise, right? And so, whether these guys want to admit it or not, hey, it's a democracy. Everybody's equal. Lee Loughnane can sing lead vocals. Yeah, but not for Peter Cetera. He can't. Look, Mick Jones, he did what he thought he needed to do back in 2005. I think I had it wrong. I think I said 2003 initially. But 2005, you hire this guy, Kelly Hansen, former lead vocalist for the band Hurricane. Seems to be a pretty good fit. Now, again, nobody touches Lou Gramm. Okay, so here's my diplomatic side, right? Nobody touches Lou Gramm over here, but Kelly Hansen over here sounds pretty good, right? He sounds good. He's not Lou Gramm, but he sounds pretty good. So the audience, the people who are buying tickets, they seem okay with Kelly Hansen. I made fun of Kelly's wardrobe choices, and there are videos out there where Kelly actually makes fun of himself and the fact that in certain situations, there was too much of Kelly that was out there for certain people to see, and Kelly made fun of himself. So good for him on that. Somebody pointed that out to me, that Kelly didn't even like his wardrobe choices. People have told me, he kind of reminds me of Steven Tyler, and Lou Gramm is not Steven Tyler. I get that. But as far as the mimicking thing goes, let's address that, okay? Because it's an important thing. Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Is Kelly Hansen trying to be Lou Gramm? Absolutely. So I get what Lou is saying, that, hey, he needs to be his own guy. He needs to sing his own way. I mean, can't he just be himself? Well, here's the problem, Lou. With every band that replaces a singer who is iconic, um, we can go down the list. All right. There are quite a few bands. Little River Band, right? Hard to replace those original guys, Graham, Goebel, and Glenn Shorrock. Shorrock, not Chirac, but Shorrock. Tough to replace those guys. Really, really hard to do it. Steve Perry. That's like the elephant in the room. Look, it's Steve Perry over in the corner. That's him in the corner. That's him in the spotlight. All right, sorry. I'm about to do an REM song here. And you can't replace him. You can't replace him. What you do is cope. Steve Jerry, Jeff Scott Soto, who needs more credit. Okay, that's why when I do videos, I mention JSS. Great album out, by the way. Solo album. You need to check it out. It's called Complicated, much like this video. And then, Lou Gramm. How do you replace Lou Gramm? Well, you don't. You just cope with the fact that he's not there, and you've got a guy who is mimicking Lou Gramm. And look, the casual fan, when they hear Double Vision playing on the radio and then they go and see the concert, they say, yeah, that kind of sounds like Double Vision. That sounds like what I heard on the radio. So it's kind of a win-win for the casual fan. For the hardcore fan, here's my advice. Lou Gramm, as much as I love him, is not going to sound like the Lou Gramm that you're currently hearing on your radio station. And why is that? It's called mortality. It's called aging. It's called genetics, DNA, whatever you want to attribute it to. Now, there are some people that kind of break the mold. Mickey Thomas, of course, comes to mind from Starship. Just a ridiculous singer at his age. Doesn't make any sense. And there are a few others. John Anderson from Yes, the actual real Yes, not the hybrid Yes, not the John Davison, although John Davison is pretty cool. See, John Davison is one of those guys that is there to help you cope with the fact that John Anderson isn't there, right? I mean, look, it's a big race of people on the planet, and somebody might actually sound like the guy who left the band or can no longer sing like they used to. I don't necessarily think it's a negative. I don't know. Here's my verdict. I don't know. If Lou thinks that Mick made Kelly mimic Lou, he's right. He's 100% right. Mick Jones is a stickler for this kind of thing. He produced 5150 for Van Halen, Stormfront for Billy Joel, and he has a pretty good ear for vocalists since he was smart enough to pick Lou at the very beginning. So you have to look at it in a positive way, right? So since 2005, and that's a long time, that's like 17 years. And no offense to Lou Gramm, because I love him. I love him, man. If he and I sat down, we had a chat, I would say, dude, you were one of the best ever, if not the best, right? You can argue, Lou Gramm, Steve Perry, Jimmy Jamison. You can argue, and I will nod my head and I go, okay, that's your favorite number one. And you are 100% correct. I have my favorite number one. This is how you can be right, I can be right, and we all kind of coexist and enjoy life, right? When it comes to Lou Gramm, you don't replace Lou Gramm. You don't do it. You put in somebody who tries to sound like Lou Gramm. So the complaint is he's trying to mimic Lou Gramm. Yes, the audience actually wants this guy to sound like Lou Gramm. Otherwise, Foreigner ends up not sounding like Foreigner and people don't buy tickets. It's pretty simple. Same thing with Arnell in Journey. Same thing. Same exact thing. People will buy the tickets because, hey, he's pretty good. He's not as good as Steve Perry, but he's pretty good. And we have these conversations and these debates. Look, again, Lou definitely was dealt kind of a lousy hand when he had the brain surgery, and then he wasn't himself for a couple of years, and that made it difficult. And then when he did recover, aging had started, and let's be honest, just like with Steve Perry and a number of other singers, Steve Walsh from Kansas comes to mind, their voices change. They change. That's the truth. Now, again, to argue about that is kind of like a little silly, because you're basically saying to everybody, look, I want the same lineup. I don't care what they sound like. I want that lineup to show up. Ian McDonald is not going to show up because he's no longer alive. All right. So you're not going to get the original lineup. So what do? The two things that are available to do, there's only two choices. One is to stop being Foreigner and just quit. Say, we're done. We had a great run, but these people aren't here anymore. Lou Gramm isn't in the band, and he doesn't sound like he used to, so we're just going to call it quits. Or, like Mick Jones decided to do, we're going to replace Lou Gramm, and we're going to put someone in who makes people remember Lou because of the way he sings, and also delivers this material the way it should be delivered. Now, this is the difference, by the way, between a dictatorship, which would be the lead singer, and a democracy, which would be the band. This is the Chicago, the band way of thinking. We're a democracy, people, and no one person is greater than the whole. Okay, as much as that bothers me, hey, I've got a superstar in the band and we're going to pretend he doesn't exist. That would be Peter Cetera. A lot of people just are like, hey, you can't ignore Peter Cetera. Here he is. And you put him in the videos and you make him the lead singer, and he's looking good. He's working out. He's healthy. He's definitely an asset to your band. So to kind of make this thing about not making any one person better than someone else, I think that's probably not the way you should do it. If somebody breaks out, you should have the integrity to say, this guy over here is really great, and we're going to talk about him a lot. And those of us who are not this guy, who are in the band, we're going to kind of step back and let him be the star because he's making us a ton of money. In the case of Kelly Hansen, he's kept the thing going. He's not better than Lou Gramm. So those two things can exist. They can coexist, that Kelly Hansen has kept the thing going and he's pretty good, but he's nowhere near where Lou Gramm was at his peak. So that's where this gets a little bit interesting, because people can't accept the fact that Lou doesn't sound the way you tell people and they go, no, he sounds great. And I go, yeah, I'll go listen to Foreigner 4 from start to finish. And I'm going to go, yeah, no, not. It's like listening to Captured Live, Journey's Captured Live. And then, you go and listen to, say, Arnell, or you go and listen to Traces by Steve Perry. And you're just like, no, I'm sorry, no. People, look, it's a fact of life. It's mortality. It's aging. It's reality. This isn't a knock against anybody. This is, how do we keep this thing going? And some people will say, well, you shouldn't keep it going. You should just retire the band and quit. Mick Jones, going to be 78 years old, is apparently having some health issues, according to Lou Gramm in the same article. According to Lou Gramm, also in this article, the whole 40th anniversary thing didn't go down so great, right? Lou was trying to talk. People wouldn't let him talk. Kelly was talking too much. I don't know. Maybe Kelly probably was a little paranoid that here comes Lou Gramm. He wants his old job back and people still love him, even though he's not where he used to be vocally, right? And by the way, Kelly shouldn't be making fun of Lou Gramm. People online should take the foot off the gas and stop with the Lou Gramm bashing. Look, Lou is 72 years old. When he does go out there and perform, he does a great job. He's just not the same vocalist that he was in 1984. That's all that you can say. There's nothing more you can say. And the people who refuse to kind of acknowledge that or pretend that, hey, we can just go on business as usual. You can pick any band on the planet, right? And there are very few singers. I mentioned one, Mickey Thomas. John Anderson would be another one. But there aren't a whole bunch of them who can still do what they used to do. Whether it's the catalog, whether it's genetics, we can't keep beating a dead horse. So it's interesting to read the article, and it seems that Lou is just venting the way anybody would do at his age, acknowledging the situation. I think the big takeaway, though, from the article is the fact that Mick Jones is not in good health, and people should recognize that when they see Mick Jones come out and do one or two songs and then leave, that's most likely because that's all he can do. So again, Kelly Hansen seems to be liked, according to my crowd over in the Patreon chat area of my page. There are people that really like Kelly Hansen. They like Lou Gramm. They like Kelly Hansen. You can do both, okay? And you can coexist and be happy and move on with your life. You can choose to go to these shows, or you can choose not to. You can choose to listen to all the old stuff and not acknowledge that Kelly Hansen is the new lead singer and just leave it there and have your great memories. I have mine of the Foreigner 4 era. You won't top that. Just like the Journey Escape era, you won't top that. Just like the REO Speedwagon High Infidelity era, you won't top that. Survivor, Vital Signs, you probably won't top that. You can go on and do this all day long. You just have to hold on to those great moments and great memories. And remember, if you're going to go see any of these bands that are still out there with new singers, that it isn't going to be the same, but it's an event. You can take your spouse, you can take your family, you can go by yourself because you're embarrassed. You don't want people to see you there. Whatever it is, just enjoy life, people, okay? And I think that's the overarching message to all this, is that you can't replace Lou Gramm, but you can still go out and see Foreigner perform, and you can still enjoy yourself and have a good time and not be mad at anybody. Don't be mad at Mick Jones. Don't be mad at Kelly Hansen. And of course, don't be mad at Lou Gramm. All right. So that's my video on the topic. This is kind of a bookend to that other video I did a week ago. And here's the thing. Again, there's no real solution. There's no real end to this debate. And I'll debate anybody. Somebody wants to come on and talk to me about this, I'll say, look, I get your point. Everybody has a good point here. So the best thing to do is not argue, just enjoy this amazing band that, by the way, should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'd like to see that happen before anything goes down with Mick Jones or Lou Gramm, right? Or any of the other surviving members of this band that are still with us. Because guess what? These guys are an amazing band and they've given us so much. So somebody at the Hall of Fame needs to come to their senses, put aside all the stuff that apparently went down with Mick Jones, and just put these guys into the Hall of Fame where they belong. All right, people, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Oh, Ches Kane, one more time. Beautiful, talented, incredible. If you're mad at Pat Benatar, go listen to some Ches Kane. She's got a new single out there. The video, again, a little bit on the racy side. I don't think anybody's going to watch that video. People are going to watch the video. Anyway, thanks for watching me, and I will see you pretty soon.